Now, governors of the South-South have resolved that states in the region should join the suit filed by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, challenging the collection of value-added tax by states. The ongoing VAT agitation, which is now ripening to a potential very robust legal tussle among the states of the Federation, started as a solo effort. Now, meanwhile, the discourse has since shifted from an economic issue to the murky waters of politics before it was reduced to the usual interethnic conflict between the North and the South. Right now, we have in the House Mike Cookie. Mike Cookie is a public affairs analyst. He's here to help us look into the deeper level of this very topic. Hello, Mike. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Nat. Good morning, Margaret.
Beautiful.
To be here.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to join us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now we thought we were about to see an end to the VAT row, only to hear about the South-South states joining forces, with the River State government in pursuit of the legal tussle going on there. Where are we headed to?
Okay, so it actually goes to show you the entire system and the rot that is also within the system, because this struggle, it's just beyond the VAT issue. It's like you said in your opening speech, it has metamorphosed, it's taking some political, colorations to it. And yeah, truthfully, like someone would say, the Wiki effect. He was the one that discovered the loophole, in the Constitution, and he's taking the legal actions to it. So the South-South governors are trying to join forces with him in the event that it turns out positive. They will not have to go through the route of going through the courts to want to be beneficiaries of the dividends of the proceeds or the outcome of the VAT. So my honest take around it is it's possible that these issues can be resolved even outside the courts without necessarily having a combustive legal fireworks around it, because for me the effects of this will really be damaging on both sides.
When you say any other way besides what we're having right now,
yes.
Can you give me an example?
Okay, so I give you a practical example. I think that was in 1999 when the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Victor Obong Atta, okay, so they had this issue of onshore and offshore dichotomy, okay, that there was a deadlock, and the Niger Delta region was heated up and all of that. And rather than going towards the legal option, the federal government then deemed it fit to have an off-court discussion, or what they call a political solution to the crisis then, which brought about the 13% derivation that presently today the South-South, yes, it still obtains. So there are options that can be explored. That is, if the federal government is having a genuine intentions around this, without necessarily heading for the legal fireworks in the courtroom. Yeah.
All right, now Lagos and Oyo states have already filed applications to join in the appellate court, and according to what you said, there are now politics is being played in this thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
do you see the politics being played as one of the reasons why even some of the governors who really want to join would withdraw?
Yeah. Okay. So it's becoming political, and probably I see down the road where political parties may eventually begin to call some of their governors that are in the forum back door and be having probably a closed door discussion that, you can't rock the boat. We are all in the same, political party and all of that. But that ought not to be the case, okay? Because honestly, looking at the picture, for me, this speaks to just one thing, which is the agitation for restructuring. That's the whole gamut of all of this. So some say it's the Wike effect, which they have been clamoring for restructuring or trying to get restructuring through another means. Okay, so the federal government should sit down its share in the VAT and all of that, and cede more of these federal allocations to the states. That's the crux of all of this. The state wants more revenues to be allocated to them.
Well, you also mentioned that these issues can be sorted out of court. Someone also came on this platform and mentioned the same thing. But now we have had issues that, he said this could be negotiated.
Yes.
And now we've had issues before now that tried to be negotiated but didn't work. So you don't think negotiating this out of court would still take that same toll?
Okay, so that is why I said if the intentions are noble and clear, all right, if the intentions are noble, there is no, not to my knowledge, there is no situation in Nigeria within the political space that cannot be resolved politically. The politicians, they call it, they have a political solution to every problem. At the heat of it, where you think that it's at the tilting point, there will always be a political solution to it, where it's a give and take kind of arrangement, a win-win situation. Okay, but as it is presently constituted, honestly, the center, they need to whittle down the attraction at the center. Every month, these governors, they go cap in hand to Abuja, wanting to get from the so-called national cake that is virtually depleting.
Yeah.
So some call it the feeding bottle pilgrimage that they make. So you go there and the center, you are their wins and caprice. They could tell you, look, we can't talk to you now and all of that. And ministers begin to make light. So it ought not to be so. It ought not to be so. And I think that's just the drive behind why you see governors are aligning and taking positions on this issue.
The presidency had
please.
earlier assured that it would comply with court ruling. But from what's playing out, one still doubts if the federal government still stands by its words. It appears, the question is it taking sides?
Yes, that's the bane of leadership that behoves on this government. Perception, sometimes they say it's reality. Okay, you ask an average Nigerian what he thinks about when it comes to faithfulness, integrity, and keeping to promises as with this government, and they tell you that they don't believe in most of the things the government say. Okay, so it's a thing of most persons are losing faith. So even when the government intentionally will want to say, oh, we are doing this, because precedents have shown that you have not been consistent with keeping to promises, the people tend to not want to believe, even up to your governors. You see, they go into closed door meetings and they have resolutions as to what to do, and in few hours down the road, you are seeing a different thing. So when you consistently act that way, no one will want to take you serious on that.
So Michael, people have different opinions, and of course they have shared their thoughts on this issue of the VAT row. Some believe that for the states who generate more revenue, they should have the lion's share and maybe share it among themselves. Others think if you do that, you make the other states who have nothing to wallow in poverty. And also, then what do you think about this issue? Or you mentioned the Wike effect. So what do you think about it? What's your take on it?
Okay, so generally, the idea why the Wike effect still, some of his pains, like he cited, he gave in the month of June, where I think about, is it 92 billion naira or thereabout was taken as VAT revenue from his state, but he was given a paltry sum of 4.9 in return. And he was like saying, this is clear injustice. So as a governor, he will award contracts to companies, for construction of roads, of infrastructure, running into millions of naira. And the FIRS will now be taking 7.5% of that money. And you go and share with states that are practically doing nothing.
Contribute anything.
Anything. Do you get? So he sees that as a clear injustice. So when you cascade it down home, I think the Southwest governors, they also have a meeting somehow, and they were also agitating that states that also have solid mineral resources in their domain should also be given some percentage from the derivative. Okay, so eventually it's all heading towards one direction. Like I did say, you say people are asking for what is due them in different voices and in different tones. So if you have what you can produce, which has always been the case, I'm sorry, but I'm an advocate for restructuring as well, because I think it keeps the system stable. It keeps the system stable. I have this resource within me. Let me develop it and be able to contribute something to the center, and have the rest to be able to take care of my people, as against what we're having here, making the center over attractive and too powerful.
Because if you say you're an advocate for restructuring, is it continuous restructuring on one time? Just make it clear, because restructuring, is it going to be one time? Because is there anything like a restructured country or continuous restructuring? So what exactly are you an advocate for?
Okay, so I'm an advocate of the states, the federating units, to be able to control what is within their domain at every point in time, as against the federal dishing out orders and instruction to something that you have no visible control over.
Okay.
So you cascade it down. I mean, it has a ripple effect all around, from the state policing to even the local government system. You can see that all playing out.
Okay, now, Mike.
Yes, Mr. Nat.
By ensuring a proportionate distribution of states' wealth among all the states of the Federation, wouldn't you say that the federal government is championing the cause of unity and brotherhood?
Okay, yeah. So ordinarily, that is supposed to be the real intentions, championing brotherhood. But as presently as what we have now, we cannot truthfully say that's what's playing out. That's obtainable. Okay, so you have what you call is it the Federal Character Commission?
Okay.
Okay.
So Federal Character Commission is supposed to be a commission that takes care of the interest of every region of the state, But we discovered that when it comes to appropriation and sharing, we see all kinds of politics being played.
Okay.
See all kinds of politics being played. You see some states are being disenfranchised of what is due them. Okay, so even at
All right.
the political issues, you see some having more appointments than others.
All right, Michael, sorry to cut in here. Now we'll have to take a short break. We'll be back for more of the segment. Right now, we have to go on a very, 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 very short break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back on iBrandTV. All right, thank you for staying with us. Before the break, we were speaking with Michael Koki, a public affairs analyst, and Michael is still right here in the studio. Back to you, Michael. Before the break, he said a couple of things, and now in the statement from the meeting by the Southern governors, the governors appealed to the National Assembly to immediately review and amend sections of the recently enacted PIB and explained that the amendment was necessary to give a clear definition of a host community and transfer power to appoint trustees to the state government. So now the question is, with this, really with the amendment give a clear definition of host communities with the politics that is being played in every sector. This from the meeting from the South governors yesterday in River State.
Yeah. So that happens to be one of their demands, amongst others, that this PIA bill has to be clearly defined, which for me, it's rather unfortunate. These gray areas would have been taken care of before the president eventually makes his assent on that. But we discovered that these things, just like you said, I mean, politics virtually in everything. They play politics with the lives of people, because this bill is supposed to be one that would even be of greater value to the Nigerian people. Okay, so how could you explain someone that really does not have maybe an oil in his territory being also allocated, as an oil producing community, same percentage? It's wrong. So this thing needs to be clearly defined, so that you don't end up messing the entire process of what you intended to achieve. Because I could tell you for free that if this thing is not taken care of, I pray we don't begin to experience hostilities within the Niger Delta region again. Because they are also agitating that it is clear injustice. You cannot rob a man of his own due resources, which brings me to my point of restructuring again.
Okay, now some northern states had already downplayed the VAT money, saying that they are rich enough to do without the VAT. Was that a mere bragging or something to be taken seriously?
Of course, I definitely have to borrow your word. It's just a play on words. It's just a play on words, because when the chips are down, when the chips are down on this VAT issue, most states will be on their knees, really, really begging. Yes, that's the truth of it. So if the southern governors stick to their guns, and eventually maybe the decision goes in favor, no, it's not. The story will be for another day. The story will be for another day. All right, because that's why I'm always saying it can be negotiated out, and settlement can be made out of the court, but unfortunately the matter is already before the court of law.
But we don't even need states to be on their knees, the northern states to be on their knees. What really we need, or what really it I think should be, we need or is needed, is for the states that rely so much on the value-added tax coming from the states that have more revenues, and they should be on their toes, really not on their knees, because there's no state in Nigeria that's not blessed with something. Either you're blessed with granuts or gold or rice mill. We have the granite pyramid. We have the rice mill. We have the cocoa plantation, and all of the state. We have the Ajakuta Steel Company. But to mention a few, so imagine all of those things are lying down because you are depending on the state. I think that's really what we need. We don't even need them to be on their knees. Rather be on your toes and not on the knees. That's just
so Margaret, the question will now be, with all of these abundant resources within the states, how many of these states have deployed the resources of developing these resources?
That's what we're talking about.
Them?
Yeah.
And most of, when you look in-depthly, part of the reasons why these states, these federating units are not taking these steps is because they will have to go to the top to want to seek one approval or the other. Don't forget that most of these things are within the federal government exclusive list.
Yeah.
So before you want to say you want to mine a resource that's within your domain, you want to go and seek an approval. Which is not supposed to be so. So it now brings the effects of the Abuja pilgrimage trip, going in there every month to
ask for money.
Ask for money.
Okay, finally, Mike, for want of time, very briefly now, with all these South states, joining forces with Rivers State government, would you see the odds favoring the states at the end of the day?
Okay, the odds favoring the states, there is a likelihood. For me, I like the awareness that is being brought to the fore around this issue. Okay, at least it will bring to the consciousness of even the populace that, look, there is this issue. Okay, because when you look at the Constitution, I think Section 165, subsection 1, before this time, it arrogates that power, to states, sales tax and all of that. Okay. Now I wouldn't know if it has been amended, so I'm just being careful around there because the matter is already in court. So, but again, if the awareness around it, it's what for me is a gameful thing, and if the federal government, if they intend to want to do the needful around it, what these governors are just asking for is let the federating units have a little more of what they are having so that they can be able to meet the needs of the people.
It's all right. Thank you so very much,
Michael
Mike.
Cookie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, right?
Yeah.
Pleasure.
All right, Michael Cookie there, public affairs analyst. We're gradually coming to the end of the show, but we have another segment for you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.